What will happen in society if we achieve technical knowledge such that we can do the sorts of things we've never been able to do before, but we lose the moral and philosophical and theological wisdom to understand when we shouldn't do certain things. And it's not just off in the future. This kind of stuff is happening right now. I've got to start watching the Kardashian show, I guess. The only reality show I've ever really liked is Jersey Shore, because I just know those people. I grew up with those kind of people. And I've got to start watching the Kardashian show. This was one of the most serious and nuanced discussions of the issue of surrogacy that I've seen anywhere on television, and it came from Khloe Kardashian.
Do you feel less connected?
Mm-hmm. This is not easy.
I definitely buried my head in the sand during that pregnancy, that I didn't digest what was happening. And so I think when I went to the hospital, I really think that was the first time that really registered. And it has nothing to do with the baby. It's just, you're like, okay, we're having a baby and this is my son and I'm taking him home with me. I definitely was in a state of shock, I think, from my entire experience in general. Don't stop. I felt really guilty that like this woman just had my baby and I take the baby and then I go to another room and you're sort of separated. Like, I felt it's such a transactional experience because it's not about him. I wish someone was honest about surrogacy and the difference of it, but it doesn't mean it's bad or good. It's still great.
Okay, and there it is right at the end. That's the required endorsement of the sexual revolution and all this progressive insanity. But the entire segment, the whole argument, says, no, surrogacy is obviously terrible. There's obviously something deeply wrong with this. And here's why. And here's how I felt it, and here's how I bet the surrogate mother felt it, and here's why it's so wrong for the baby, because procreation is supposed to be about the baby. The only person to be said to have any real rights in that is the baby, is not us. But I've had trouble connecting with my child now as a result of this. I feel like I just discarded this woman. I just rented this poor woman's womb, and then I throw her out, and I take the baby. It didn't occur to me that the natural process of pregnancy would get me prepared physically and mentally and spiritually to have a baby. I didn't have any of that. I just drove to the hospital one day. I just realized, oh my goodness, I'm having a baby. And it's been so hard. And I wish people were honest about how terrible surrogacy is. But I mean, it's great though. But it's great though. I know I have to say that because I'm a mainstream figure on television. But it's not. It's not great. It's obviously wrong. And I see why people have been tempted to do it. I see why why all sorts of temptations exist. People are tempted toward things that are bad because it seems like there's some goodness there, or because they feel a little bit desperate, or because they're constrained in their lives. And so I get it. I understand the temptation to surrogacy. But good ends, the good end of having a baby, do not justify immoral means. And when we engage in immoral means, I mean, you see this throughout the Old Testament. Some of the greatest figures in the Old Testament start to cut corners and start to fall into temptations and start to say, oh, well, I can't have a child with my wife, or I'm going to have a child with her handmaid. Or, okay, I can't get this victory that I want. Okay, I'm going to cut a corner over here. And it never works out. Things begin to spiral out of control. We are simply not smart enough to be able to account for all of the externalities, to account for all of the unintended consequences of these sorts of things. We think we are. We flatter ourselves in rationalist modernity that we can reason through every single little thing. In fact, we're far less capable of reasoning through all of these consequences than human beings were even 400 or 500 years ago. We don't possess even the sophistication that people had then. And then they had a much healthier dose of humility and recognized that it might seem fine on a sheet of paper to say, okay, I'm going to rent this poor woman's womb. She's going to deal with all the difficult parts of pregnancy, and then I'm going to go pick up my baby at the baby store. But gosh, it just seems so transactional. And isn't there something deeper to human life than mere transaction? Modernity, liberalism tells us that we're all basically just consumers. We're all just economic creatures in a marketplace. And I pay you for this, and you give me that good and service, and the left believes that, and even the right, large swaths of the right believe that. But it's not true. You can't just make every aspect of our lives into some economic transaction. This is what the great conservative Edmund Burke warned about when he warned of the economists, sophisters, and calculators who had taken over the world. These are not merely economic transactions, especially when we're talking about the relationship between a mother and her child. Listen to Khloe Kardashian. She makes a good argument. Right now, go to preparewithknowles.com. I love that URL. It's difficult to trust anything or anyone these days. If you've been paying attention to current events at all these past few years, you know that you need to be prepared for anything. Reality is you might not be able to find food when the next disaster strikes. Right now, My Patriot Supply is knocking $200 off their popular 3-month emergency food kit. Go to preparewithknowles.com, grab this special deal before it ends. Your 3-month emergency food kit provides over 2,000 calories each day for optimal strength and energy in stressful situations. Enjoy a wide variety of breakfasts, lunches, dinners, drinks, and snacks. Do not put off your preparation any longer. Tomorrow might be too late. Go to preparewithknowles.com, save $200 on the 3-month food kit. You will also get free and fast shipping on your order. Preparewithknowles.com. That is preparewithknowles, KNOWLES.com. Head on over there right now. You know, with Father's Day coming up, I've been thinking about how grateful I am that my father did not become a woman. For all of his many accomplishments, the greatest accomplishment might be that he gave me my life, at least from my perspective, and he couldn't have done that if he had become a chick. Without him, I wouldn't be here. While that might be a strange thing to say, we live in strange times, so we shouldn't take the simplest gifts for granted. Show your appreciation and gratitude for your dad making the bold choice to remain the gender that he was assigned at birth with a gift from Jeremy's Razors. Right now, they have a 30% off sale on select bundles and razor starter kits. They're 100% woke-free and unashamed to celebrate manliness. So this Father's Day, do not just give him any gift. Give him Jeremy's Razors, the gift that says, thank you, Dad, for being and staying a man. Thank you for mansitioning. Go to jeremysrazors.com today to take 30% off our razors and not 100% off your genitals. That line still gets me when I read it, and whoever the copywriter is certainly deserves a raise. Speaking of technology, we're seeing election interference from big tech already. And it's not Trump getting kicked off Twitter, and it's not DeSantis getting kicked off YouTube or something. It is my friend, Vivek Ramaswamy, being kicked off of LinkedIn, which is, I have to say, the most Vivek social network to be kicked off of. That is so, I've mentioned that Vivek and I know each other from college. I was an undergraduate when he was at the law school. We were in similar kind of clubs and organizations to one another. And so at the time, we didn't know each other very well during college, but he had a reputation as being just very type A, very meticulous, very, very intelligent, very serious and ambitious and successful. And he obviously has proven that. He sold a company for a ton of money. He attended the top law school in the country, at least when he was there. It seems to have gone downhill since then. And now he's running for president. He's a best-selling author. Very impressive guy. I just love the idea that for Vivek, his kind of doom scrolling, in his free time is that he's just on LinkedIn. This very professional, responsible social media app. And he was kicked off allegedly for spreading misinformation. Here's why he was kicked off.
I was a bit surprised to get an email noting that my LinkedIn account had been shut down. I wondered why, because actually a number of friends texted me saying they follow me on LinkedIn. That's how they keep up. They weren't able to find me anymore. And so when I had my team get in touch with LinkedIn, here's the response that we got. I'm not kidding. I'm reading from this. Apparently, my third strike was to say this: the climate agenda is a lie. Fossil fuels are a requirement for human prosperity. Those were my 3 strikes. That got me censored on LinkedIn.
Now, it's kind of funny, and LinkedIn doesn't matter, obviously, as much as Twitter or Google or YouTube or Facebook. Though LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft, so we're talking about a very big company. And it shows you, okay, they think they can go after Vivek right now because he doesn't have as much name recognition, and so they'll get less pushback than if they went after Trump or DeSantis. And okay, it's just this one. Think about how early we are in the race, though, and already you're seeing these kinds of shenanigans. To me, LinkedIn going after Vivek this way is a little warning shot. it's a little test shot in the race to see what happens now. We have new candidates in the race. Mike Pence has long been rumored to be interested in entering the race. Pence has not said that he's running, but he kind of got scooped by CNN here in that CNN released word that he is going to participate in a CNN presidential town hall. A little awkward that they made that announcement before he announced that he's running for president. Presumably, though, if you participate in a CNN town hall, you are running for president. And Mike Pence has gone now on other networks, and he's started to begin the process of crafting a message for his campaign. Here is Mike Pence going after Ron DeSantis on Fox Business.
I just don't believe it's in the interest of the people of any state for a government to essentially go after a business that they disagreed with on a political issue. I disagree with Florida moving against Walt Disney. I disagree with California moving against Walgreens because they're going to obey the law about abortifacients in some 20 states, so they're going to cancel a $120 million project. Look, at the end of the day, the business of America is business, and I'm not terribly surprised to see Disney canceling $1 billion contract. That's only going to harm people in the Orlando and Florida area, and it's one more reason why, as a limited government conservative, I've said for months now that I think both sides ought to stand down, take the victory for parents' rights in the legislature, and move on.
So this message is probably not going to resonate with a lot of people, at least not right now. The GOP base seems to be pretty eager for an aggressive response to the cultural war that the libs have been waging, especially when we're talking about Disney down in Florida or Bud Light or Target or any of these other companies. And Mike Pence is offering a fairly contrarian argument here. He's saying, look, the business of America is business. That's a line from Calvin Coolidge. Saying the business of America is business. We don't really want to antagonize business too much. We want to be social conservatives. We want to defend our values, but we don't want to just pummel these businesses into the ground. And Ron DeSantis, he went too far here. This is a message that, to some degree, is being put forward by President Trump. The difference is that Trump is such a belligerent cultural figure that he somewhat, probably uniquely, can make both of those arguments at the same time. Out of the one side of his mouth, he can say Mexicans are rapists and murderers and we've got to deport everybody. And then out of the other side, he can say, all right, we need to make a deal and bring the temperature down a little bit. And the other candidates are falling down on one side or the other. So DeSantis is falling down very much on the we're going to pummel Disney into the ground side of things. And Mike Pence here is trying to carve out a new space for himself in the race. And he's saying, look, I'm the pro-business guy. I'm the Calvin Coolidge Republican. I am the return to normalcy. That's his argument. And it's a little bit of a long shot argument right now, just judging from where the GOP base is. But I think it's not the craziest idea for a campaign in that you've got Trump running as Trump. You've got DeSantis running as Trump 2.0. So they're both running in the Trump lane, which is a kind of old right, anti-globalism, to some degree anti-free trade, Pat Buchanan kind of right wing. Then you've got Vivek, he's the outsider candidate. Then you've got Nikki Haley and Tim Scott. They're running a little bit more of a centrist moderate campaign. And Mike Pence is going to run on a return to normalcy. People are going to mock it. He's not doing great in the polls right now. Joe Biden, however, ran the return to normalcy campaign. And the return to normalcy campaign worked out relatively well for him, along with the institutional advantages that the Democrats had. What a great clip. I'm so glad you liked it. Make sure you subscribe to the Michael Knowles YouTube channel. Ring that bell. We'll see you next time.